Okay, welcome to the September discussion meeting. We did have tonight an executive session regarding personnel, legal, and safety matters. So discussion, I'll turn this over to you, Doc.
Okay, so our first topic, I just want to give everybody an update on where we are with facility updates and discussions. So I'm going to pass this around just so you can follow along with my outline here of my own notes. So I'll start with the basketball court outside. It's looking to be about another week and a half, and that's with the add-on of the sealed surface. So they are completing the fencing. The fencing did come in, and that's also the same project that connects to the Offutt Field of fixing the fence and the wall down there. So as soon as they complete the project out here on the court, they're going to get down to Offutt Field and they're going to start that project, which they believe that project is about a 2-week project, start to finish, which means should be complete for the homecoming game.
And the signs up? Are the banners up for the band and football players?
I have,
Ours aren't up yet.
I don't know
I'll
that.
be going bright and early tomorrow morning if possible, so.
It sounds like there are groups putting them up this week, tomorrow,
Thank you.
And where are we putting them now?
We have to put them down,
inside fence.
Yeah.
Why?
The same
Well-
place they were last year, or the one
No,
around
the fence around the field, by the scoreboard.
Why are we doing it that way?
Other
We
schools are-
created a sale last year with all of those on the fence. So part of that, when you have all those banners hanging on the fence and you get gusts of winds, it starts to pull those fence
We've been
posts
hanging there
over
all them
time.
years.
So, and we have problems. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's why we went
50
with
years old.
smaller banners on the inside where we can still see them.
My concern is people are gonna mess with them, you know,
Yeah.
because they're easily, somebody can reach them now. We'll see how it goes, I guess. We committed to it now.
So those two projects, looking to be another couple weeks out for completion with those. The outdoor classroom, there is an item on the agenda tonight for the bids, and that's because the bids were opened yesterday. But we do want to discuss this. We are going to reject the bids. The numbers that came in were far more than what we're comfortable with. We have grant funds to help out with that project, close to $140,000 in hand. But the numbers that were coming in, the low bid was $233,690, and that included then an alternate for the electrical out there of $1,620. There was another number that came in for electrical of $49,000. We met today with CEC, and we just felt like those numbers, we needed to, and we met with CEC, and we also had a brief conversation with Mr. Demoski about how to go about doing this. So, number one, the pavilion that went out to bid, we can scale back on the pavilion, on what that is. We believe that the numbers that we got for electrical and the pond were not numbers at all that we're comfortable with. I think the pond, the one number came in at $60,000. And we said, we're not putting in an in-ground swimming pool here. We're redoing a pond. So we're just not comfortable with those, and we're not going to award bids at those numbers. So what we talked about doing was explain to me.
So what we're gonna look to do is we're gonna do an addendum to the scope of the pavilion. We'll re-advertise the project. We will try to independently secure prices that are below the bid limits that would allow us to for the pond and the electric, and that's where the architect thinks those numbers should be. So anything over 25.9, we have to bid. He believes both of those items technically should be well under that amount. So we're gonna look at co-stars, we're gonna look at, calling around and get some pricing to see if we can be under that bid number where we can just secure 3 quotes and then kind of piece them together. So the project is still a go. However, we just need to, we have to look at the scope a little bit differently and put the right puzzle pieces together to get the best cost for the district. Basically is where we're at.
And we still
Fair.
have meetings
That's
to,
fair.
Yeah, okay.
and we still have meetings to generate more funding to help with the whole project, but when the numbers came in, it just didn't, we are not comfortable with paying.
And that happens
That amount.
sometimes when projects go out to bid. If the right people don't partner up to put the right pieces together, you can get skewed numbers. So we did get a lower, more reasonable bid on the pond. They just happened to put their bid into the highest person on the pavilion. So again, we have to dissect it. We'll re-advertise an addendum, so it's out to the public. It will be listed on the website and on CEC's website, so that everybody has an opportunity to rebid on what that new scope looks like. And then we'll try to look for the other pieces, the pond and the electric through other avenues.
Any questions on that particular bid and that particular project?
I appreciate cost consciousness that I'm hearing, but let's just not go cheap to be cheap. We've done that in the past, and we're paying for it now. So if a certain size pavilion is what we need now and for the future, let's do it right once.
We'll get the same size,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
but it's the detail in the pavilion that probably doesn't need to be as detailed as it was designed.
And CEC believes that the prices are not reasonable for what our end product is going to be, so it,
We think we can do better.
Okay.
We think we can get the same
results.
results with,
I think for,
There's not a whole lot of people, and this is one of the things that CEC mentioned. Greensburg, Salem is new to doing projects, being back on the street, being back on the market. So we're not getting a whole lot of hits yet. But the more projects we do, the more bids that we put out, people are seeing so he said, they're starting to get calls saying, well, we're not quite interested in this, but we may be interested. So what our conversation today was, we all have to do a better job to say, hey, there's electricians in the area, we have work that needs, look at us. If there's HVAC, look at us, we have work that needs to be done. So just even this conversation going out and going back out to bid could produce better results for the district. So it's, the more we do, the more people are noticing and the more people are kind of gonna throw their hat in the ring. But right now, we advertised for 3 weeks, but we held the bid out there over Labor Day to give people more time to bid. There were people that called and said they were interested and then backed out and didn't submit a bid at the last minute. And even at that, we were scraping, we were afraid that come yesterday, we weren't even gonna have any bids to open. So, it's just a work in process. We're getting there. We're getting on the radar.
$233,000, I think we could build a 2-bedroom house there, because we already own the property. And there's nothing wrong with being patient. It's too much. You can build a house for that much. We're putting a pond, electric, and a pavilion, so
You might even
6
go get
posts
in
and a
ground
roof.
with your house you're building.
Well, what's that,
You
Brian?
might even go get in ground pool with
Well,
that house.
you might, yeah.
That's right.
Allison, when you put that out when we break this scope down, so could we advertise on the Sunday paper, on the Sunday papers, Greensburg Salem is looking for a bid for X, Y, and Z? Can we break it down that way? Is that what you're saying, instead of the whole project, looking for a landscaper to put in a pool or a pond? Electrical work, can we do it that way?
That's what we're going to do. It was advertised as an outdoor classroom project at the senior high school. and it included the pavilion, it included the whole piece, but it was bid as multiple primes, meaning that, you know, there was gonna be a general contractor, and then the electrician would put in their bid, and then that general contractor, you know, reached out to the other subs to give him a price to come, you know, to come forward. So what we're saying is we'll rebid the pavilion, like the structure part of it, which would include like the footers, the concrete and everything that would need to go with it. And we're going to look separately for the pond piece and the electrician. And if those are under the biddable rate, then we can secure quotes. You know, if it's between 11,000 and 25,900, then we can secure 3 quotes and go with the lowest person who provided us quotes at that point.
Okay, thanks. I couldn't hear you the first time. If you had said that, I apologize.
No, that's okay, that's okay.
Okay,
Can we back up to B for 1 second?
Yep.
The fence down at Offutt, we've got a lot of things going on down there, through when, mid-September. Are they gonna make sure that they're keeping their equipment out of the way and obviously securing it so that we can still have our functions going on down there?
yeah, I'm gonna schedule a meeting with them to kind of walk through that area so that we can discuss that, and I'd like to have Mr. Sundry there too. But that's the plan, is to rope off the area, but to keep it usable.
Okay, and keep in mind, they were talking about moving it back 2 feet. The small concession stand, the fence is almost right in front of one of the exit doors already, so I'm sure they'll handle that.
I think it's angling in at that point, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. All right, current plans and financial options. I just want to run through these so we're all on the same page of where we are with the other things that are out there and in the projects, and then some recommendations moving forward. So we have the Trinity control system, and the financial options there, we have to use general fund. And I put some notes on here, combined use of general fund borrowing, I'll get to that in a second, or just straight borrowing. It cannot be complete until the HVAC project is completed at the high school, Nicely, and Metzger. So the control system was at halt at Nicely and Metzger because the chillers, they weren't hooking into those old chillers. We have to replace the chillers first before they can complete that project. So the next one on the HVAC project, those documents are, correct me, Allison, those are ready to go out for bid with a date of awarding on October 24th, which is a date that we have scheduled as a committee meeting, but we can award that bid on October the 24th.
The bids will be ready September 18th, so they'll be advertised September 18th, 25th, and October 2nd. We have a scheduled bid opening on October 16th here at 2 p.m. with an award date of October 24th, which would, if once we have an opportunity to review them, we would have to schedule a special board meeting just for the purpose of awarding those bids.
We can't get them in by the voting meeting in October?
No, we're all, we have to advertise for 3 consecutive weeks, and with the scope of that project being as large as it is, we need to be able to review, the architect has to be able to review, we have to make sure, but we can't hold it we can't hold it to the November meeting. Like the timeline, we can't hold it to the November voting meeting, so we would have to schedule that.
Why can't we work on it?
So the reason why we want to get this project in as soon as possible, the first option of paying for the HVAC is to use ESSER funds. The ESSER funds that would have been used for the Trinity project, using those for the HVAC project. But as of right now, we have to spend all of those funds by January of 2025. So the bid that's going out is for a 52-week project for the HVAC work. Here's the big if. If it comes back that the lead times go beyond January 2025, now we have to rethink our whole process. with this. But as the bid goes out, it's a 52-week, which will get us in that timeline to do that. The other if is, which I think it's highly doubtful that any extensions are provided on anything ESSER related. I think, my opinion, the deadline's the deadline. Not that we won't check, but I don't want to count on that. So,
So Ken, the chillers, is that what is holding up the Trinity?
at Nicely and Metzger,
So our AC project, is that only getting us to complete the Trinity system, or is that over and above?
that HVAC is going to get us back to where we were with the rooftop units at the high school for the band room, the chorus room, the steam room, and then the second floor of the high school that is the business wing. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 classrooms in the business wing that were cut off years ago. It will restore what was there in the past. And it will restore the AC in Nicely and Metzger that were lost when the chillers went out.
Well, can the high school project just be done and Nicely Metzger have to wait until their chillers are done?
It's all gonna depend on lead times of equipment with this HVAC equipment. And we'll know more when the bids go out, because they're gonna have to bid on those specifications of it being a 52-week project. So which, at this point, the architects have a pretty good feel through their connections that the equipment can come in that time frame. But that's why they're going out on the timeline that they're going on, based on the feelers that they put out when they put the specs together.
I gotta say, I'm still not thrilled with Trinity, in the project where they're saying they won't connect to the equipment we already have. Just still not thrilled with that.
And that's not on them. Because they were awarded to do a job to hook into the equipment. They weren't awarded to come in and survey the equipment. They were awarded to do the job to put the equipment in.
And the delay is because the equipment didn't fit the old equipment, wasn't compatible with the old equipment? Was that the problem?
They were not gonna hook in to the old equipment.
Because it wasn't compatible, wouldn't work.
I think it was compatible, but now the old system doesn't work, so you're not gonna hook into a system that doesn't work.
I kind of, and then Brian's court on this, the scope of the project and them being here for a lot of months working on it, at some point, take a walk down the hall and let us know that this isn't gonna work. I don't think they did a good job, and I'm disappointed in that. Maybe it's not in their scope of responsibility, but it's almost common sense to, hey, this isn't gonna work with what you're doing, let us know. I'm not happy with it.
Well, Frank,
That's my opinion, so.
Frank, they were here to do a job. They probably figured the equipment was compatible.
Yeah, but don't assume, John.
Yeah, but they come here, they were probably told, you're gonna hook this, A, B. I understand where you're coming from, Frank, but if it's not in their scope, they can't be held liable for it.
Yeah, but before you start the project, don't you review the scope and make sure that the scope matches with
I
reality?
didn't see the contract, I don't know what they were under the scope. Does anybody have a copy of what they were supposed to do? Do we have a scope of their work?
So there was no architect involved initially, and that was a mistake,
Correct.
a big mistake.
So it should have been engineered first with this group you hired now, correct, Ken? If you'd have had the group that we hired on CC, whatever, they would have looked into this, hey, you need this part before you do anything, correct?
Yeah.
So it was done backwards. Okay.
I think we play a part in that. We didn't hire an architect.
Well, that was
We approved it.
We approved it.
I don't think it was
We were
under
told
Yeah.
that it could be handled.
I think that was before Ken was here. when Dr.
Right.
Piper was here, so let's not put the blame on him.
So,
Not.
no one,
The board
don't blame
agrees
on
on it.
anybody.
Yeah.
And
What board of-
due to this error, that's why we move forward with CEC.
We have a way to fix it, where the control system will be in with the HVAC. So we just have to get the bids out, get the bid awards. But the reason why we need to know what the plan is going to be once we start moving and what could or couldn't happen, just so we're aware of that.
Well, to go back to the equipment, when everything was up on the roof, you know, they were fixing the roof, they were fixing the ACs. Why weren't those things updated along with all the other things?
So the AC units that were replaced when the roof was done were the two AC units over the auditorium. The rooftop units were new. They connect into the handlers that are down behind the auditorium, the back rows of the auditorium. Those handlers are still the 30-year handlers. So the rooftop unit, those were the new units. But the units above the band room, the chorus room, and the steam room, those were still older units. They were taken off and put back on.
And that wasn't really discussed though with the board, right?
No, we discussed,
Yeah.
taking them off, putting them back on, we were told they were in good shape, they would work for a while.
They broke
They
down.
were told some units were salvageable with
Yeah.
a little bit of,
But did they ever work after the roof was put on?
They did until
I think they
last
reconditioned it.
last summer.
The agreement was they could use the crane from the roof and come pull them down.
Right.
They did some maintenance work on them, put them back up.
And they worked.
Yeah, they
You know,
were.
and then they broke afterwards, so you
broke
can't
afterwards.
control that. You know, it's, stuff happens.
I mean, regardless, all this is needed.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gotta be done. Let's move forward.
So those two go hand in hand, but the reason I wanted to throw the next piece on, so worst case scenario of that it's about that timing of when you can spend the ESSER funds. Because what you don't want to do is say that we're not spending the ESSER funds. There's other things too, where we've got Hutchison in the high school, the carpeting at Hutchison, that's 30 years old. There's options there where you can do flooring. There's options for ceiling tile, ADA accessibility. With that said, those are all things that are 30 years since they've last been done. So just keeping that out there of lead times on the chillers and HVAC equipment goes beyond that January 2025. What are we gonna do next? We need to start looking at other things fast, quickly. Let's say everything goes as planned, so HVAC units can get in the 52 weeks. The Trinity system, like we get that all taken care of. That's where we're still at. Those two buildings, 30 years out from all of those. You know, things will pop up. But the things at the bottom there, we did have the gas at Metzger. We were able to replace that. That was $48,000. We know the fitness center roof needs replaced and the whole building needs restained. So that's an estimation of $500,000. We know the maintenance facility roof down at Offutt, that needs replaced. That's an estimated $400,000. So we need to start thinking, what is our
That's a lot of money for a
plan?
roof.
So what's our plan to do this? And that's on the backside. I really think we have to start with an end in mind here. We need to know where we're going in the big picture. Because for us to do big projects, if it's not part of a bigger picture, we're wasting our time.
Good money.
And so I really think that we need to create a district-wide master planning team to get a common vision of where we're going. Because we can sit here and all of us can come up with different ideas, but I'd like to have the citizen that doesn't have kids in the district that is still a taxpayer at the table. I'd like to have the parent at the table with the kid in kindergarten. I think we need we need a bigger vision of where we're going. We met with the city last week, with the YMCA, to talk about how, partnering on something like the tennis courts. But the problem with that conversation still comes in, well, if we make a decision on that, is it part of a bigger plan? So I think we have to, all these projects have to happen, to Mr. Metrosky's point. The HVAC needs done, that'll all get taken care of. But beyond that, we have to ask the question, what's the bigger plan? Because any additional projects then, does it fit with the bigger plan to then build, how are we going to financially tackle those? On top of creating, part of the other recommendation, so move forward with the HVAC,
Yes.
close out the control system, we need to do that. Plan for roof replacements on the fitness center and maintenance. They said that they're 2 to 4 years out. We need to plan for that and how we're going to do that. And then creating routine maintenance schedules for things like parking lots, sidewalks, paint, signage, and other needs. But when we do that, we have to say, where are we doing that? And I think that's where we need a bigger shared vision of where we're going.
We haven't even talked about AC for Hutch or the high school locker room,
That hasn't even come up.
which I think those are really priorities for us.
So you want to create a focus group, a committee, and get started on a plan?
Yeah, we already have board members that are on that team. I think it's like, let's get more people engaged. Let's start with like a SWOT analysis. Let's just find out what people are thinking. No daggers at the table, just come with your thoughts and your vision and what would you want in all aspects of buildings, finances, all of those things to get an idea of where we go from here.
And can we create like a survey monkey for this, for the facilities group? So those of us that are in the facilities group, and maybe put out a survey, like a question, on the school website, however we have to do it, blast it on Facebook, because there's enough people that push the Facebook page. We could maybe give some input, and we could go from that, get some
Yeah.
demographics on who responds to it, and
Yes.
then move forward with asking for a homeowner, a business owner, people within the district,
Yeah.
the children, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So like get started, instead of bringing the whole, getting 20 people in a room with no plan, let's get a focus of what we want to talk about.
Yes.
Thank you.
Isn't this board kind of supposed to be the district master planning team? Like, isn't that part of our job? Like,
Your role will be to make that final decision.
well,
But I think part of it is to gather input from the community.
that's fine,
Gather-
but as representatives of the community, we've been elected to represent people, to guide the district, and that's, I thought that's kind of what our job was, to be the district master planning team, and people are welcome, of course, to come and, talk to representatives, be part of the discussion, but I thought that was kind of our job as elected representatives.
It is to make that final
The
decision, but
board of
I'll give a similar, like Representative Nelson is our representative in Harrisburg. So when educational items come up, he's texting, calling, getting the three of us together, us, Hempfield, Yawk. What do you think about this? Give me your thoughts, give me your ideas, now he has to go back and make the decision, but he's at least gathering that input and that information from us. I think that's what I would like to do, is let's find out what does the community want? What are the thoughts from the community to allow us to make the best decisions at the table? You to make the best, because I don't get a vote, but yeah, for you to make those best decisions.
I mean,
I think
it
your
sounds
input
good,
would be just as critical as, or more so.
but if we do a survey, as Robin suggested, we need to understand you know, where these people are coming from. You know, do they have somebody in the district? Are they a business owner in the district? Are they, you know, just a taxpayer in the district? So if we do a survey, we have to have that as part of the demographics to understand, you know, what perspective.
What demographic do they fit? But ultimately, the decision will be at the table here. Yeah.
Okay.
It's no different when we brought people in from the comprehensive plan from outside, when we did those surveys that went out.
Correct.
So, it's not taking any power away from anybody or putting it with one group. It's gathering, fact-finding and gathering information that the facilities group is asking to be able to take back to the entire board. No one is being left out of the picture.
Yes. So I just wanted to put that all out there that we're moving forward. We will have something on that. The HVAC bids will be going out. And then the reason why the 24th, we do have a committee meeting date scheduled for that day. And so if we need to advertise for the special meeting, we'll have a special voting meeting for that item that night. Okay. Moving on. Policy items for first read. I would like to put these policies on next week for first read, meaning we have a committee meeting scheduled for September 19th, or the option of scheduling that date on the 19th. And I think that would be a good night for the first reading of these policies. So I'd like to put these on for next week for recommending a first read. We'll go through them and get together, anyone that wants to get together on the 19th to really go through that first read. October, have the second read for a November passing of the policies. This is the last group that was never updated. So these are the 000s, which are the board procedures. So the ones that are in yellow, what you're going to see, the ones in yellow, I will have updates. The ones in green, the reason I marked those in green is it's a recommendation from PSBA, but will also be my recommendation to retire those policies that are in green. But again, these will all be up for discussion. So are we okay with next week putting these up for recommendation for a first read?
Yes.
One thing I do want to throw out that I want to see in one of these, when we go through that, is that this is only board policies, but all of our district employees, including board members, should be using district lead, in my opinion. And I think that needs to be a one.
So that's one that we could go back in. There's another, I don't know the policy off the top of my head, but there's a specific policy that language would need to be added to.
And it's nothing against anybody individually, but
Yes, it is.
it needs to be consistent for the public to know how to get a hold of us. And, you know, securing the communications and so forth.
I do have the PDF side-by-sides of the current and the proposed.
Thank you.
They're
Yeah,
available.
I'll add that one to the agenda item next week. Yeah.
My email, just tell me.
This one was recommended by a board member, discussion on policy 237, electronic devices. So, Mr. Conway.
When we voted on this one, I did make it, I did mention that I was not comfortable with us taking devices from the students. And my understanding is we are doing that in a lot of classrooms, so I more want to understand how is that going. You know, I don't want to talk about like I don't know that we wanna talk about changing at this point, but I just wanna get a feel for how is that going, how's it being accepted out there with the students, and is it working well?
Both of my kids love
So I'll answer Mr. Jones and Mr. Zilli aren't here this evening, but I spoke with them last week, and as of last Friday, they actually had students that were thanking them for it. Now, we had a lot of classrooms where the teachers were doing this on their own in their classroom, and they were seeing a lot of success. And so the decision was made. I think they sent a blast out to parents beginning of August that said they're going to attempt to do this year. A lot of the students thanked them for it. They were holding a student voice meeting to get feedback on how it was going. They're going to ask the teachers the same. So as of right now, it's positive. A lot of the a lot of headaches come from the phones for inappropriate use. And inappropriate meaning off task and things that they can be disrespectful, like very distracting. The kids from last year in one of the classes that they pulled them away every day, they didn't like it at first because then they would go to the next class and they would have it. But by the end of the year, they were thanking the teacher because it removed them from the distraction that they couldn't remove themselves from. So it's something they're going to monitor throughout the year. Like I said, they told me they were going to pull together student voice groups, teacher voice, just to get feedback as they go along.
And not every class is doing it the same way. So I got policies with my kids and I talked to my kids about it. And I guess some classes they had a big shoe holder and the phones went in there. And then another teacher just was like, keep it in your stuff. And if I see it, like you get a warning and it's going to be set to the side and like it just it steadily increased. So it was putting the onus on them to be responsible with it. And so, but nonetheless, the phones had to stay out of sight and not touched. And only at that point would it be sort of like, well, you're having trouble paying attention, so it's going to go live on my desk for the rest of the period. And either way, it seemed my kids were like, yeah, that's fine. There were no problems.
So that seems to be the consensus in the schools that.
As of September 6th. Yeah. But like I said, they're going to be holding just different groups to gather feedback as they go. The nice thing with they'll be able to evaluate this throughout.
I was nervous about that, if I'm being honest. I was really nervous about that.
Yeah.
It'd also be nice to see if grades improve if phones aren't in the classroom because of all the distractions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So next week we'll have our financial reports for you. We'll have the personnel reports. So getting into the other pieces. So we did have this item. This was the item for the outdoor classroom, but we will be removing this item.
What reject?
Yeah,
Motion to reject.
Motion to reject. Yeah, motion to reject. Educational service agreements. So we have 3 service agreements, one with Franklin Regional School District, one with juvenile probation for permission for probation officers to carry a firearm, and Southwood Psychiatric Hospital for academic tutoring services. Any questions on any of those 3? Okay. Conferences and workshops. I don't know exactly what's happening with this. It definitely won't be November 8th because we have a board meeting that evening and I'm not missing our board meeting for that. So this is recommending for me to attend the Westmoreland County Forum for Workforce Development Kickoff Leadership Summit November, and it will not be the 8th, it's going to be the 9th and 10th in Boone County, Kentucky at the Ignite Institute Roebling Innovation Center at a cost of $1,600.
If this is important, would it be worthwhile to move the board meeting?
No. No, we don't.
Throwing it out there.
No, we do not need to do a board meeting
Okay,
for this.
just check.
Yeah. But thank you for asking that.
And is this professional development funds, or because it's workforce development, are there any grants in workforce development for the fee?
I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, because sometimes they
That's a
do
good,
workforce.
it's a great question, and we'll get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Why is the Westmoreland County Forum having something in Boone County, Kentucky?
That's a good
Question. It's a great question.
Please have it here.
That, I'm sorry, that just doesn't make sense
It's
to me.
a good question.
Like, it's out of state and everything.
Yeah.
Is it a national workforce development group?
No, it's West-
No, this will be the Westmoreland County Forum for Workforce Development.
It might be cheaper to bring the guy in from there to come to Pennsylvania than sending everybody in Pennsylvania there.
Yeah.
I will get answers to these questions for next week.
Yeah, because it,
Thank you.
that's kind of odd.
Facility rentals and usage requests. So we have an approval for Greensburg Rec Football to rent Offutt Field November the 5th for the League Senior Bowl game. And then number 2, recommend approval to amend a facility rental agreement with Salem Township Recreation Gymnastics that was passed on August 9th to reflect a charge of $0 for the long-term rental fee for Metzger Elementary multi-purpose room. And I can explain this one. So we did pass, and the recommendation that I put out there was for $5,000 for the usage fee. Salem Township Gymnastics has not paid a usage fee at Metzger for 30-plus years. I don't know the exact number of years, but it's been a long time. What we need to get to is more consistency with our facility rental processes. The number one step for us is going into the admin procedures and our facility fee schedules. They haven't been updated since 2008. We've discussed it. We're going to meet in September so that we can come up with a fee schedule that doesn't have 6 different rental groups, multiple fees for different items. We want to make it simple, and we've already collected fee schedules from local districts. I think we have 8 or 9 different fee schedules that we can work off of. What happened after we passed that, I had a meeting with Salem Township, which I should have had the meeting prior to recommending that. So the first thing that I said to them was, I'm sorry, because I should have communicated with them what was going on. To hit them with that change when they hadn't had the change in a long time, it didn't sit well with me that I was doing that. So I had that meeting with them. We did discuss, they have an event at the end of the year. They do pay a fee for that event that comes in and uses the high school gymnasium. So like, that fee's okay. The other thing is we have, I believe, 80 plus students from K through 12 that go to Metzger every day after school in a safe environment, a safe location. And it hit home to me as I was meeting with them that that's what I've been preaching, is let's provide more opportunities for our kids to have a safe place to be with positive mentors and to be with. So I'd rather build relationships with our rec groups and different groups that are out there that are looking to help kids build community than to nickel and dime that. So that's why I put it on there to rescind. I do think a lot needs done in the background to make sure that we're consistent between all rec departments and places where our kids go to get
Like the
a
football
good
program.
experience. Yeah, and the football program, so and again, that's been inconsistent. We pulled up data on the football program of what's been charged, what hasn't been charged, years that no charge was given. We need to be more consistent on those things. What's the difference between an event and a practice? we need to build consistency there. But that, it didn't sit well with me that, number one, I didn't communicate to them. So that had to be a big hit to the stomach of a budget. It hadn't been done in 30-plus years, and the fact that it's serving 80-plus Greensburg-Salem kids in a safe environment after school every day, so.
So,
Are these our students? I'm sorry.
so
Majority.
the problem is the fee structure that we approved is flawed.
Yeah, and it
Because even when you quoted at 5,000, it
wasn't the fee.
wasn't the fee.
No, because the fee
So-
was, there were two different fee options. It was a day-to-day fee or no, it was just a day-to-day fee. There's no option there for a long-term fee. So the actual cost would have been $18,000. So that cost wasn't even, when we looked at that, so yes, we need an improved fee schedule.
So do we need to rescind what we passed on that fee schedule? And just start all over again? Because I do feel we need a policy or a structure in place where we're not doing this.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I think our goal is to have that new fee structure presented in October.
Because it's not fair for one rec group that's as a school district member, like Salem Township to not pay, Greensburg rec to have to pay, South Greensburg, Southwest to not have to pay. So
The only,
I don't want to get into where it either looks like favoritism or we're making one pay and not the other.
yeah, the only thing that I would say is that the groups that are meeting on days where we don't have employees and we have to bring employees in for additional time, we don't have that time budgeted for. We need to pay them. Those fees have to stay.
Yes.
Because we need to be able to pay our employees who are working those events.
Do we do anything, does Salem Township reciprocate in any way? So I know we have reciprocation agreements with, like the YMCA and a few other places where we use their facilities, they use ours, and we just kind of.
So I think the thing that started was we met a few weeks ago. There were 4 individuals from Salem Township, and we met, and I think it's just building those relationships again and talking about those things that we can come up with some of those ideas, because that was, everyone in the room agreed, whatever we can do to get our kids involved in more after-school weekend with positive mentors. Everyone's in agreement. When we've met with the YMCA, with the city of Greensburg, everyone's in agreement on all of those. But there's nothing out there right now, but I think continuing talks will help us come up with those ideas.
They use the soccer field, soccer kids come out and use the soccer field at no charge. I believe Tina would know better than me, some sort of program that the gymnastics program put on for the school, or you would know better than myself.
Just the STEAM Carnival, and they have talent show, and, I mean, they do things that are,
To interact with
Yes.
the school day.
yeah.
So
Nothing
maybe we should do a-
formally written,
Maybe
but-
we should do a separate agreement like we do with the other organizations. Just throwing that out there. If we can't make it fit within the confines of our fee schedule for the facilities, can't we just make it a separate agreement like we do for the other organizations? I mean, because we do that already.
You have to be consistent. You can't have a separate schedule for one group and then go off of
Well, we do that already. though.
procedure for the others. What's that?
We do that already.
But that's, do you agree with doing it that way? I don't.
If it's a separate agreement. Because if they're.
That makes it complicated, Brian, over time, if history changes, and like how we said they didn't know that we haven't really charged them in the past. So we should probably have a paper trail and be consistent for everybody, so that we don't put Dr. Fizzle in this position, we don't
Right,
put Salem
right.
Township in the position when they got, that we were gonna bill them when we hadn't billed them.
But if they're
So-
providing a service to us and we're providing a service to them, or facility to facility, it's similar to what we do with other.
YMCA.
Yeah, with like the YMCA.
Like, yeah,
Right,
we-
but then let's look Greensburg Rec, our kids go down, our football players go down and help them on the weekends too, so we do have a little bit of a partnership, mentoring there, they come to our events, the rec teams always come to the first football game, the cheerleaders come and cheer. To be fair to all, we need to do what Dr. Bissell has recommended, and we always say, we like to listen to recommendation of administration, so why don't we let him see what he comes up with, and then we can look at it
The
that
idea
way,
is not
so
to
it's fair
make
for
any
everybody.
revenue with them.
No.
The
We're not
idea is
making money
simply to
off it,
cover the
yeah.
costs.
No.
That's-
Yeah.
yeah.
No one's looking at this as a profit tool.
Right.
Just be
And don't take
consistent.
it wrong, I'm not saying we charge them, I was
We
just
have
trying to
been-
come up with a way.
Looks like. we
We've
have
been
contracts with
consistently
this, we have contracts with
inconsistent,
that.
so
I don't see
we
the-
need to,
Just as
we
long as
need
you
to
have
be
a
more
contract of
consistent.
some kind. So, you know, I don't necessarily think we have to do a one size fits all, although that might be appropriate. But I think what Brian's trying to say is, you know, that's what a contract's for. So you do have a paper trail, you do have an agreement, you do have an outline of what things are. And if this contract is a little bit different because the circumstances are a little bit different, then you can have multiple contracts for different entities, just so long as everybody knows what's going on.
And we will have that,
One
yeah.
big, you know,
With the new system, we need a fee schedule that fits. One of the problems with the system now, there are 5 or 6 different categories, but the renter goes in and picks the category that they belong to. They may or may not be picking the correct form, so then it's going through the system where the administrator has to make a determination, did they pick the right? We need to make it simpler.
and that was really clunky.
And then the contract
I've
at the
used it,
end,
it's clunky.
everybody will have then a contract at the end that's specific to their event and what they're renting for.
And I'm not saying that we should do the exact same thing we did for the Y with this organization, I'm just giving you ideas, and you come up with whatever you think is fit, but I'm just saying, if you can't make it fit into the mold, maybe we go.
There's an option. Yeah, I got you. Okay, so just going off of that, maybe the recommendation is to amend the rental fees from July 1. But we can't amend any personnel costs. Personnel costs have to be there. But the rental fees, which I think it's only 2 at this point. And we'll get in October a new fee schedule. That's all I have.
Okay, anything from our guests tonight? Look this way too. Okay.
No.
Yeah, collect.
You can have.
Okay, thanks for coming tonight. We'll see you next week, Friday night.
Thank you, Robin.
Thanks for doing that.
Yep. All right, I'm shutting down. Take care.
There's no way in on yours. Yeah. See like that?
There's no details.